Coming up next on Connections, renovation is complete at the Cermak-Chinatown station on the Red Line. We'll take a look at the many improvements both inside and out. That story, and the Department of Homeland Security recognizes the CTA for its exceptional security program. Also, what is green and can keep you lean? We're not talking broccoli. It's the CTA Bike and Ride program. We'll show you how easy it is to take your bike on the bus or train. We'll tell you how you can score one of the CTA's commemorative Crosstown series fare cards and posters. You'll really like this year's design. And in Backtracks, we'll tell you about a 19th century experiment with a battery-operated streetcar. Those stories, plus we'll explore some of the innovative ways the CTA generates money to help fund its operating budget. All coming up next on Connections.
Hello, I'm Omar Barragan. Welcome to Connections, and welcome to the newly renovated Cermak entrance at the CTA Red Line Cermak-Chinatown Station.
This is what we've been looking for in the community. It has brought in a lot of praises, and people are telling us that how nice the facility is and how much they enjoy coming down to Chinatown using the Red Line.
The renovations are complete and CTA customers are enjoying the benefits of the many upgrades to the Red Line station at 138th West Cermak.
Well, we're standing in the new street level entrance for the Cermak station. Formerly, you would go up a stairway or escalator to reach the platform and pay your fare there. Here, you'll pay your fare at street level. We also have a new elevator, making this our 92nd accessible station.
Everything up to the platform is brand new, including the escalator and stairway, the customer assistance area, the fare machines, and more.
We have high-definition cameras throughout the station and all the entrances. New stainless steel ceiling, bike racks, benches. We have a little courtyard area on the other side here.
The renovated entrance is one of 3 options for customers using the station. An auxiliary entrance was constructed 2 blocks north on Archer prior to the Cermak renovations.
We didn't formally have an entrance on the Archer side, so as part of this project, we first had to build an auxiliary entrance on the Archer side, then we could close down this entrance, and then we began construction on this side.
The Archer entrance will remain in use as a secondary entrance and exit for the station. It is a convenient choice for customers making connections on Archer Avenue buses. Another option is a fare card-only entrance directly across from the renovated main station.
You can also enter across the street on South Cermak. We've added HBGs, high barrier gates, that take fare media. It's a busy intersection and it prevents people from having to cross Cermak.
All 3 entrances are ideally located for access to the vibrant Chinatown neighborhood, which is celebrating its centennial this year.
We have year-round activity from now until the end of 2012. We have Dragon Boat Race in July of this year. We have New Year celebration as well as summer festivals. And so the opening of this station brings in a lot of tourism and visitors to Chinatown. It is essential to the economy and business in Chinatown area.
Centennial aside, Chinatown is always a draw for Chicagoans and tourists looking to sample the restaurants, browse the shops, or enjoy the green space of this culturally rich community. The Red Line station here is a gateway to the Chinatown and surrounding communities.
As we've been working on the station, we've had so many people in the community come up to us and say thank you, how much they appreciate it, how much they enjoy the new station.
The opening of this station is critical to the economy of this Chinatown. It supports our business and it brings in tourism and visitors to Chicago, and it opens up the entire Chinatown community to the outside.
CTA's number 21 Cermak buses were rerouted during construction, but have now returned to their regular routes along Cermak to King Drive. All bus stops relocated during the project have also returned to their normal locations. The construction of the Archer entrance and renovation of the main station were paid for with stimulus funds from the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. You've heard it said before, safety is a top priority at the CTA, and the CTA recently received high praise for its security efforts during a federal assessment of the system.
The Department of Homeland Security recently recognized the CTA for its exceptional scores on the Baseline Assessment for Security Enhancement, also known as BASE. CTA received high marks in all 17 categories.
Some of the categories that Homeland Security looks at are planning for emergency preparedness and security, training and exercises, public awareness campaigns such as our See Something, Say Something campaign, as well as some of the physical security and other technologies that we use to secure the system.
The CTA has strong partnerships with local, state, and federal security agencies, including the Chicago Police Department. Uniformed, plainclothes, and K-9 officers work the system daily.
I'm an explosive K-9 handler. We patrol the platforms and trains. They're trained to sniff bags. Anything that's unattended, they'll sniff the bags. Different containers on the platform.
We sweep the platforms, we sweep trains, buses. If we see something that we deem suspicious, we take the initiative, we check it out ourselves. We're all over.
The officers and their dogs are some of the most visible security measures, and most customers are also aware of the CTA's ever-expanding network of security cameras. But there are many other not-so-obvious measures in place to keep the system secure, like the TAR training program.
The terrorist awareness, recognition, and response training is really focused on the frontline employees and supervisors here at CTA so that they know what to look for, but also how to respond. Oftentimes we see something that is unusual, out of the ordinary, and the idea here is to use your observation powers to look for those things.
Perhaps the biggest security asset is the sheer volume of people who ride the CTA every day.
We provide close to 1.6 million trips on a weekday, and that's a lot of eyes and ears out there. There's really no better resource than someone who sees something that just doesn't fit, and no bit of information like that is ignored.
All the measures in place make for a secure system, a system that meets the stringent demands set by the Department of Homeland Security.
We were told by the Department of Homeland Security that there are very few transit agencies that receive high marks in all 17 categories, and that's why we were being recognized. So I think it's a nice affirmation of the type of programming that we've been working on here at CTA in conjunction with all of our security partners.
The CTA has yet another honor to report. The Illinois Technology Association has awarded CTA's Bus Tracker and Train Tracker programs the City Lights Award in the Best Strategic Use of Technology category. The ITA presents awards every year to non-tech organizations that use technology to distinguish their products and services or transform the norm in their industry. It's good for the air, it's good for your health, and it's good for your budget. It's the CTA's Bike and Ride program. And if you like to bike, there's no good excuse not to give it a try.
There's nothing but positive spin for the CTA's Bike and Ride program.
It makes it really appealing to folks to have to sort of avoid using their cars and using buses, trains, and bikes combined.
It costs nothing extra to put a bike on a CTA bus or train. All CTA buses are equipped with bike racks, and bikes are welcome on CTA trains except during rush periods.
CTA customers are allowed to take their bikes onto trains anytime other than weekdays between 7 to 9 a.m., 4 to 6 p.m.
When available, use an elevator or ramp to get a bike to the platforms. A bike can be carried up a stairway too. Once on the platform, keep the bike out of the flow of people. And when the train arrives, allow others to exit and enter first. Then find a place for you and your bike.
You should make sure to secure it. The bike must be under your control at all times. Do your best to move the bike out of the general pathway so that people can still continue to circulate through the train.
Putting a bike on a bus takes a few more steps, but the bike racks on the front of the buses are really very easy to use.
The first thing you need to do, and this is important, you need to let the operator know that you're going to take your bike on the bus. So he or she is aware. The next thing I'm going to do is come over to the rack. With one hand, I can push in and pull it down. I'm then going to lift my bike up and put it in the space on the rack that's closest to the bus. Then I'm going to hold my bike with one hand. With the other, I will take this spring arm and pull it out and over my front tire. I'm going to secure the spring arm at the highest point of the tire to hold the bike in place, and that's all you need to do.
Don't forget to take any bags off the bike and bring them on the bus. Once on the bus, find a seat close to the front so you can keep an eye on the bike. When you get to your stop, always let the driver know you will be removing the bike. The removal process is a simple matter of lifting off the bike, returning the rack to its proper position, and signaling the driver to let him or her know you're finished.
It's really easy. Bike ambassadors will tell you that, when we're riding all over the city during the summer, being able to get on a bus to get from one place to the next and throw our bikes on, it has to be easy, and it is easy.
As for the trains,
I've been on every single line with my bike. The people that work in the stations are great. They're really supportive of bikes.
one of the best things about Bike and Ride is the flexibility it provides. Carla Washington usually rides her bike to work and back, but on this day, she's tired, so she simply pedals to the nearest train station.
I work up north, like in the loop. Once I get up there, I'll go around to different buildings to take care of plants. So that's what I do. So I'll ride my bike home usually, but I'm kind of cheating today and I'm riding the CTA.
You can bring your bike on the train. You can leave your bike at the station. You can put it on the bus if you have a long commute, a long distance to go. If you get a flat and you've forgotten your spare tube, or if there's a sudden downpour, we want to give our customers as many options as possible.
There are bike racks at more than 130 CTA train stations. There are more than 140 miles of on-street bike lanes, plus 40 miles of off-street bike paths in Chicago. The CTA and the city make it easy to go green and stay lean using Bike and Ride.
It's a perfect time to get on your bike, get on the bus, get on the train, so we look forward to seeing you and your bike on the CTA soon.
You must be 14 years old or older to bring a bike on a CTA train or bus. Children 12 to 13 can use the Bike and Ride program if an adult accompanies them. Cubs and White Sox fans may argue over who has the best team, but there's no argument when it comes to the best way to get to their respective ballparks. It's the CTA, of course, with direct service to both Wrigley and US Cellular Field.
CTA is ready to take you out to the ball game. Whatever your ballpark preference, the Red Line gets you there.
The Red Line runs from Howard Street North to 95th Street South, so it's an excellent option for either the White Sox or the Cubs. You don't have to transfer and you don't have to worry about parking. You get right off the train and you walk less than a half a block to the stadium.
There are large crowds on game day, but CTA has its bases covered.
There are enough trains to accommodate. We make adjustments to the schedule to move trains up so that we can accommodate the crowds at the ball games. We add the CAs and the fare boxes so that people can get through. So there's no delay in coming through the station.
The Green Line is another option for Sox games. The 35th Street stop is just a few blocks from US Cellular. CTA bus service is also adjusted for game day crowds.
US Cellular, we have the 35th Street bus. It'll drop you off right at the door. And in addition, on the north side at Wrigley Field, we have the number 152 Addison and the 22 Clark Street.
And after the game?
We always have anywhere from 10 to 12 extra buses lined up on the number 152 Addison to go westbound where the bulk of our ridership goes. And on 35th Street, there's always extra buses for US Cellular at the break of the game.
And if the convenience isn't enough to entice you to take the CTA, consider the cost.
It's an excellent way of saving some money. You won't have to pay for parking around Wrigley Field where you might be paying anywhere from $25 to $40 to park in a lot.
Save that money for something of real value. Ballpark hot dogs and other delicacies.
Oh yeah, make it with crowd.
For baseball fans, there's nothing better than a day at the ballpark. And for travel to and from the games, there's nothing better than the CTA.
Another option for Cubs fans is the shuttle service from the DeVry campus near Addison and Western. During night and weekend games, fans can park a car in the campus lot for $6. The $6 per car covers parking and round-trip bus rides to Wrigley Field. If you've been on one of the buses serving Chicago's ballparks, you may have heard some familiar voices promoting the CTA. Managers for both the White Sox and the Cubs are making a pitch for CTA travel to and from games.
Hey, baseball fan, this is Ozzie Guillen, manager of the Chicago White Sox.
Hey, baseball fans, this is Mike Quaddy, manager of the Chicago Cubs.
Ozzie Guillen and Mike Quaddy can be heard on select CTA bus routes reminding customers the CTA is the best way to get to Chicago's major league ballparks.
Customers riding buses along the 35, 35th, and 24 Wentworth bus routes will hear White Sox manager Ozzie Guillen in his reportings.
The CTA is a great way to catch great games all season long. Take this bus to the stadium or the red line to the Sox 35th station, and we'll see you at the ballpark.
Customers riding buses along the 22 Clark, number 152 Addison, the number 154 Wrigley Field Express will hear Cubs manager Mike Quaddy's reporting, encouraging customers to take public transit to the ballpark.
CTA is a great way to catch the games all season long. Take this bus to the ballpark or the red line to the Addison station. See you there.
It was a great way to have fun announcements that really promote the benefits of public transit and the convenience of public transit, to the fact that both managers of our baseball teams took the time out of their busy spring schedules to do this with us.
The CTA also appreciates its customers. In a token of thanks and in the spirit of the fun and friendly rivalry between Cubs and Sox fans, the CTA has once again produced commemorative fare cards and posters for this year's Crosstown series.
Local illustrator Steve Musgrave combined his love of baseball with his artistic talent to once again create this year's design. He's created the CTA's Crosstown series designs for more than a decade.
This year we went back to showing a baseball player, an idealized, stylized image of a baseball player, kind of in a heroic pose, the ultimate baseball card look.
Steve likens his design to the poster art from the early 20th century. He's been consistent with his style over the years.
I absolutely enjoy it. It's a fun challenge to make it interesting, but also make it look like it's part of a set. I try to make them look like a series, and they do collect them.
The Crosstown fare cards are available at all CTA fare card vending machines located at rail stations while supplies last. The posters are distributed at the 35th Street and Addison Red Line stations before each of 6 Crosstown games, again, while supplies last.
And it's our way of just giving back and, having camaraderie during the series.
Steve Musgrave is also the artist who created the large baseball murals you see here at the Addison station. You can see more of his work and take a look at past Crosstown series fare cards and posters on his website, stevemusgrave.com. You've heard the old adage, in real estate the 3 most important things are location, location, and location. When it comes to locations in the Chicago area, the CTA has some of the most desirable. That's why the CTA is working with retailers who want to set up shop on CTA property. It's a winning proposition for vendors and the CTA.
Coffee? Cash? The latest news. CTA makes amenities available to its customers, and in the process makes money to help fund the CTA's operating budget.
They're very important right now because obviously we're in a challenging budget environment. We're looking for new ways to generate non-fare revenues.
The CTA's operating budget supports its day-to-day operations. Public funding covers less than half of CTA's operating costs. The rest comes from CTA fares and other revenue-generating sources, such as concessions and leases.
You got your standard amenities that you're going to see in most stations, kind of like a 7-Eleven. You can go and grab a coffee and a donut or a newspaper. And we're seeing some newer formats that are coming out.
Naui Wowie is a Hawaiian coffee and smoothie shop that will soon lease retail space at the Belmont Red and Brown Line station. Lupito's Juice Bar is coming to the Damon Pink Line. They are among 5 retail and concession spaces recently approved for leases at CTA rail stations. There are currently some 130 retail spaces at the stations.
Our stations are all in great locations. They see high travel every day, and they're terrific retail opportunities.
In addition to larger retail leases, the CTA also makes a profit from ATM machines, soft drink companies, and others who lease station space for automated vending machines. In 2010, the CTA generated more than $6 million through those retail and concession leases. The The CTA headquarters building at 567 West Lake Street is another valuable real estate asset.
On the first floor, there's a variety of retail space that's available. On some of the upper floors, there's available commercial space.
A not-for-profit agency will soon begin operations on the 11th floor of the building. A 7-Eleven store and 2 restaurants are among the retailers taking advantage of the building's prime location in the West Loop.
It's just a great area because of the high density of people and a lot of workers.
The Saigon Sisters Vietnamese restaurant opened in October 2010 on the first floor of the CTA building.
This is a beautiful building. I love these glass, LEED certified building, the roof deck with the green roof. It's just a really nice and clean environment, and the landlord's just very, very good to us.
LEED stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. The CTA headquarters building was awarded LEED Gold certification in 2007.
LEED is a green building rating system established by the U.S. Green Building Council. That LEED certification was a major draw for the owner of Province Restaurant, which also leases space at the building.
The opportunity to get into a location that was actually a gold level LEED certified building brought a lot of inherent things with it for us to really sort of grow on and then sort of build our eco-friendly restaurant within it.
The proximity to the Clinton Green and Pink Line station funnels foot traffic to the area.
We do get good foot traffic, but we're also in a neighborhood, and it's also a growing neighborhood, which is fantastic.
It's been excellent. Yeah, we can't ask for a better location.
Retailers doing business on CTA property are happy to lease the valuable space. And the CTA welcomes the opportunity to generate additional revenue in a way that benefits its tenants and customers.
Every government is faced with the smaller budgets. We're trying to maximize all of our assets. That's how we do it.
People interested in retail opportunities with the CTA can get more information on the internet by going to www.ctarealestate.com.
Now let's take a trip back in time with Backtracks, a look at Chicago's colorful public transit history. Urbs and Hordo was more than a city motto to transit employees who like to make gardens of their surroundings whenever possible. The Noble Car Barn here at Cortlandt and Hermitage was built in 1886 to house horse cars. It closed in 1947, 1 month before the start of the CTA era. Some of the most outstanding horticultural displays in Chicago could be found at the Burnside Car Barn at 93rd and Drexel. This barn was built in 1890 to house some of Chicago's first electric streetcars. The picturesque barn closed in 1949. In the mid-1890s, at a time when trolley wires were being strung throughout Chicago, the Englewood and Chicago Electric Street Railway Company experimented with a battery-operated car. This car made its terminal in the alley next to the Al at 63rd and South Park, which is now known as King Drive. When this photo was taken in 1935, the route served by this little Brill streetcar along Cicero ran barely a mile from 63rd to Archer. In 1946, express buses began carrying riders downtown from Cicero at 63rd. The Orange Line Al opened in 1993 and made trips to the loop faster for Southwest Side riders. This is a photo of one of the trolley buses purchased from the Pullman Standard Company in 1935. The buses had 40 seats and fender skirts to give them a more streamlined appearance. In 1948, trolley buses began operating on a route from 51st and St. Louis to Lake Park following parts of former streetcar lines on 51st, Cottage Grove, and 55th. This early 1950s view looks west from Bishop and shows an eastbound 49-seat Marmon-Harrington trolley bus. Trolley bus service along this route lasted 11 years. Changing shifts at steel mills in 1956 meant heavy loads for 95th Street buses like this 36-seat General Motors model. The bus is shown here at 89th Street and Avenue O, where streetcars began operation 35 years earlier. That's it for this episode of Backtracks. Now back to the present.
The CTA is the nation's second largest transit agency. It's also one of the oldest. Over the past decade, the CTA has undertaken some major construction projects to improve travel for riders.
Capacity expansion of the Brown Line, replacement of viaducts along the Purple Line in Evanston, upgrades to power and signal systems along the Dan Ryan branch of the Red Line, the rebuilding of what is now known as the Pink Line. Completed and ongoing infrastructure improvements are critical to a thriving transit system. Major renovation projects are huge undertakings. CTA has completed a number of successful overhauls of the system. It's all in the planning and the CTA's commitment to efficient transit, no matter what the challenge.
Any kind of transportation construction is always a challenge because we want to keep our customers moving, but we also need to build, replace, and renew the infrastructure.
So we have to determine when can we do the work, when would we have to shut something down, maybe temporarily, and how can we keep the system running throughout the course of the project.
The Brown Line Capacity Expansion Project is one example of a recent large-scale project. That project gave riders longer trains and accessible stations.
Trains continued to run throughout the construction, even at our two busiest stations, Belmont and Fullerton. We implemented a three-track operation where we took one track out of service in order to reconstruct that track at both the Belmont and Fullerton stations. And then we were able to run the trains on the other three tracks and continue to run our service to keep people moving.
In a project where there are only two tracks for service, the CTA may move to single-track operation during a project.
We have temporary single tracks once in a while in order to do certain activities, but for the most part, trains continue to run 24/7, and the construction work is built right next to it.
Weekend work was key during the reconstruction of the 54th Cermak branch along the Blue Line, which is now the Pink Line. Rather than tear down the crumbling line, riders were given new accessible stations, faster travel times, and weekend service was added.
There was no scheduled service on the weekends at the time we did the project, so we did the majority of the track structure replacement during those weekends and then opened the line back up Monday morning for regular service during the week.
The CTA met the challenge of keeping service running during upgrades along the Red Line a few years back by piggybacking on the Dan Ryan construction project. Riders now enjoy more reliable service and upgraded stations on the branch, which runs right down the middle of the Dan Ryan Expressway.
We were working with IDOT on their reconstruction of the Dan Ryan, so we coordinated with them on using some of their shoulder lanes so we could put our tracks on there, keep our trains running around our areas where we had to do work.
Service disruptions have been minimal during the ongoing reconstruction of the Grand State Red Line subway station and the renovation of the Cermak-Chinatown station. An auxiliary entrance was built off Archer to offset any inconvenience to riders during the Cermak-Chinatown project.
So there was a case where the reconstruction really was dictated by adding this new auxiliary entrance, which at the end of the day also reflected the growth in the neighborhood and the ability of the neighborhood to have greater access to their stations.
Work is underway on a new elevated station in one of Chicago's fastest growing neighborhoods, the West Loop.
Morgan is a new station that we're putting in on the green and pink lines, so we're able to keep service running through that area while we build the station around it.
The most dramatic engineering feats used to avoid lengthy service disruptions are those that involve viaduct and bridge replacements. This time-lapse video from 2006 shows how the CTA replaced the deteriorating viaduct at the Church Street stop in Evanston in a span of just 48 hours.
If we didn't roll in a new bridge structure, we would have to take the line out of service for probably several months in order to just build a new bridge. We construct the bridge off to the side, and then when it's ready to be rolled in, we shut the line down for one weekend, demolish the old bridge, install the new one, and then put the tracks back on and have it ready for service on Monday morning.
Engineering ingenuity, best practices, and meticulous planning keep CTA customers moving during even the most complex capital improvement projects, and provide better service, modern stations, and an overall better travel experience.
We look for ways to do the project that not only gets the work done, but also minimizes impact on the customers while delivering the project at a reasonable price.
That's it for this show. For more information on the Bike and Ride program or taking the Red Line to the ballparks, go to the CTA website at www.transitchicago.com. There you can also watch individual stories from this show or previous episodes. And don't forget to give a call to the Connections hotline for your story ideas and CTA travel tips. That number is 312-681-2812. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Omar Barragan. I'll see you next time on Connections.